.2-litre V10 engine putting out 610 horses. How's that to get your attention? Welcome to a brand new episode of CNB. I'm Siddharth Vinayak Patnankar. The car with those lovely credentials is right here with me. It's a limited edition of the Huracan from Lamborghini, dubbed the Aveo, and there will be just 250 of these beauties made and sold worldwide, which means here in India, we'll just get our hands on a very, very select few. When I say we, I of course mean those few lucky buyers. So that's a nice little way to start off the show today and show you this car. We'll get you a few more glimpses of it as it's being unveiled here in India. But with this, let's also quickly move on to another really fast car. And while this one does 0 to 100 in 3.2 seconds, I now have something for you that does it in 3.7. That's the new TT RS from Audi. I had a chance to drive it a few days ago in gorgeous Spanish countryside. Here is our review. The very latest from Ingolstadt is the souped-up TT. The RS badge brings with it some pretty cool credentials and claims. The completely reworked 2.5-litre 5-cylinder engine under the hood is the star of the show, but we'll get to that. The RS comes in both coupe and roadster, and the cars are nearly identical. I spent considerable time with both in the beautiful countryside outside Spain's capital, Madrid. So the metal finish on the mirrors, the different front grille and the few inserts you see on the bumper, very obvious giveaways to the fact that this is of course the RS trim that makes the car look a little bit different from the regular TT. It also sits about 10 millimeters lower, and it depends on which particular type you're getting. If you have the roadster, well then the mirrors have the nice carbon fiber finish. You get a little bit of that thrown around on the inside as well. Different alloys, and yes, very dynamic at the rear too, because you have the fixed spoiler of course, which is a dead giveaway. Nice big TT RS badging at the back kind of rounds things off, and of course you've got the exhaust. This one has the sport exhaust. When you see the black finish, you know that this car is going to sound terrific, and it does. Is it fun? Instantly so. The TT RS uses Audi's 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox. That's nice and quick. And yes, the Bavarian car maker's experience with its Quattro all-wheel drive really shines on this car. Power is up significantly compared to the last TT RS, and well, of course, so is torque. It's gone up to 400 bhp and then of course 480 Nm of torque. Now the good thing about that torque is that it delivers its peak torque, this car, at 1700 RPM, so fairly low down from what you would expect, and it kind of plateaus at that peak level all the way to 5850 RPM. So that tells you that for the most part of that performance, right almost from word go to most of everything you'd want to do with it on the road, you're getting that peak torque. It's going across to all four wheels depending on your conditions. Of course, it's adjusting that, the Quattro system, and that's great. Having drive select on it is also great because in comfort mode, it's going to send a different kind of power to the front, and in dynamic mode, it's going to be almost 50-50 distribution for the most part. Though of course remember, based on the conditions, based on the road, based on your driving inputs, it's going to keep changing that as well. The car's ride, especially in dynamic mode, is rather stiff, and while that worked beautifully well on these gorgeous Spanish roads, it may not do so well on desi ones. the second generation RS is lighter than the previous one. It's definitely faster, and even though it's pretty much the same block that Audi has worked with, the engine's almost all new because it's been completely reworked. The engine itself is 26 kilograms lighter, and a large part of that comes from using an aluminum crankcase, magnesium sump. So very obvious weight reduction, and it gives the car a much lighter character naturally, because when you drop weight like that, 36 kilograms less than the last car, it's going to make a big difference overall. And the engine itself, like I said, so up front the weight has reduced by 26 kgs. Drive Select really is a boon, as putting the car in dynamic is really where you want to be. The true character of the RS really comes alive only in the dynamic mode. I mean, of course, in comfort it drives really well, it's precise, it corners and handles beautifully. But once you've sort of been spoiled, once you've tasted blood, you've been in that dynamic mode, you really can't come back. I mean, it's not just about the way the car sounds, it's also just how stiff and taut it is. It's definitely got that RS character because, yeah, it is really stiff. And so out here on the Spanish roads, it's been smooth going. I really wonder how it would be on our roads back home. But having said that, these are the kind of roads that you got to drive a car like this on. On the inside, the cabin takes off from the regular TTs with its virtual instrument cluster that doubles up as the information console. The cool AC controls bundled into the vent design, and the RS Touch, optional red or carbon fiber paneling, and special RS embossed race seats make the cabin very well finished, comfortable and high-end. I did get my hands on the TT RS at the famous Jarama circuit too. And this time, it was the turn of the coupe. Grand Prix until the 1980s, this circuit is still an active motorsport hub. And I enjoyed the 3.85 kilometer track immensely. The car had a lot to do with that. The TT RS handles brilliantly, though with more than 50% of the weight up front, the tail can't really come out as much as you may want it to. So it's not as much fun as a rear-wheel drive car can be. And that is because despite the Quattro system being capable of sending half the power to the rear wheels, the front wheels do maintain a bias pretty much throughout. Steering is excellent though, and more linear in comfort mode, surprisingly. It had a bit of a two-step action on the track in dynamic. And so, the comfort mode was best saved for when I got back on the open road. So it's a first from Audi, the use of OLED or organic LED in the tail lamp cluster here. It's probably something you'll start to see becoming a regular feature on all Audis. And what it gives you is, of course, a little sharper, little brighter and cleaner lines and more even lighting for each of those individual graphics. It looks pretty cool, I have to say. And it's a nice new feature that, like I said, will probably go across the entire range. The fixed spoiler at the back kind of completes the RS look. And the car looks pretty good on the road. And I have to say that the red definitely stands out, doesn't it? In fact, I did drive the coupe on the road too. And I have to say the car does feel sharper, though the engine is identical. The coupe is what I expect we will get in India, though it will be many months from now, and it will cost a bomb. The TT RS will allow Audi India to play against the Mercedes-AMG SLC and also some of the Porsches. But we all know it's a niche market restricted to a few. After a few kilometers in the coupe, I got greedy and I wanted to enjoy some more of the gorgeous weather and countryside we had at our disposal. and soon I was back in the Roadster. All that work and all that engineering that's gone into making this 5-cylinder sound like a delicious 5-cylinder, well, of course, naturally, that theater comes alive when the top is down, and it can't get better than this. Beautiful, twisty, winding mountain road, sunshine, some thick clouds and blue sky patches, and that. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Woohoo! I could do that all day. Now, what's nice about this car is that it actually has like a slightly distinct character when you drive it on the road as compared to when you drive it on the track. Having said that, it's not as if I've changed any of the settings, but it sort of adapts to that. The steering and the response you get from that steering, it's almost a little more direct on the track, and out here where you're sort of winding, twisting, yes, you get that precise response from it, and yet it has a very different character to how it felt on the track where you were taking much sharper turns in or taking into a corner and trying to get to the apex. Very different character, and that's nice because the car actually responds to not just what you're doing but also the kind of road condition you're getting. So I like that. Audi has done very well with the new TT RS. The engineers should be proud because this isn't just a more powerful TT. They've taken an already well-built, fun and dynamic car and made it a little monster, ever ready to take on what you throw at it. The last generation car sold just about 4,000 units worldwide. I expect this one will do much more than that, with a few single or maybe even double-digit purchases at best, contributing to that cause from India. Now, the Huracan is already Lamborghini's most successful nameplate worldwide in terms of sales, and it's not been around that long. For it to have already crossed the Gallardo's record is pretty significant. So just how important does it become then to offer a limited edition of this particular model, and what's special about it? Well, I had the chance to ask that question to Andrea Baldi, who heads the company's Asia Pacific business. Here's a little excerpt of that. The car is very special. It's been inspired by the fighting jets, and this idea is coming from the relationship that Lamborghini has kept with these pilots, jet pilots, especially the acrobatic ones. In Italy, we have a very special relationship with them because we always have inspired our design looking at what is happening in the in this part of the aeronautic, and I must say that the car has been also a kind of manifesto for what is the possibility of Lamborghini to customize our cars in color and trim. There's really a limitless possibility at the moment. So we want really to take inspiration from this world that we love a lot and create a car that is even more inspired to this world, from this world. Now, the Aveo will be available to customers to purchase in 5 color options, including the signature matte grey that Lamborghini, of course, has as its very sort of obvious color, And then there are 4 other matte colors, including this beautiful blue, which perhaps is the one I would opt for if I had that kind of money. And there's this special little signature badging. The L is for Lamborghini, 63 is the year of inception of the company, and then of course you have the little inspiration from the Italian Air Force fighter jets, which this car carries. And that's why you have that little circular insignia there. That's also been added on. It's also, you'll find it in other parts of the car, including on the seats as well. Let's talk now about the latest round of global NCAP tests for Made in India cars. You know that's a matter that's very close to my heart, and we've followed and tracked this very closely. With the latest round, you now see the updated version of the Renault Kwid being crashed. Remember in May, we told you about how the Kwid was crashed for the first time. So does that improve the car's score now that it has been updated? And the other one joining it this time around is the Honda Mobilio. Take a look at how those cars fared. The crashworthiness of Made in India cars continues to remain in question. The 4th round of crash tests of Indian-made models of popular cars by safety watchdog Global NCAP shows marginal improvements only. This time around, the cars tested were the Renault Kwid and the Honda Mobilio. David Ward, the Director General at Global NCAP, says, Renault and Honda make safe cars in other markets. They have the know-how to make all their Indian cars much safer. We expect them to start doing so now. Now that is a strong statement indeed, but it resonates with results seen in previous tests that we've already covered extensively here on CNB, doesn't it? The Renault Kwid has received a 1-star rating for adult occupant safety, as the car has an optional driver-side airbag. It must be noted that the Kwid without airbags carries a 0-star rating. The Honda Mobilio base variant also has no airbags and so ended up with a 0 score too, while its dual airbags variant got a respectable 3-star rating because the Mobilio's inherent structure was more sound. The Renault Kwid was involved in the last round of crash tests held in May this year and does see a marginal improvement in its result. That's thanks to the driver airbag and a seatbelt pretensioner for the driver's seat. But that is all only available as an optional extra on just the top-end variant alone. CNB reached out to both Renault and Honda for comment on these results. Honda Car India says, in both the tests, the Mobilio body was found to be stable and survival space for passengers was maintained after collision with no A-pillar collapse. Furthermore, the opening and shutting of doors were possible after the collision, which is an important factor in rescue operations. This result was achieved with Honda's original vehicle body structure. While Renault said, India is gradually moving towards international safety norms by including more robust safety regulations, and the assurance of the Bharat NCAP is a positive step in this direction. As a customer-focused company, Renault fully supports this initiative, and we are already future-ready in terms of technology, design and engineering for enhanced safety for all our vehicles. Honda has already announced that it would transition its entire portfolio to having dual airbags as standard by April 2017. India was to adopt strict crash testing norms in less than a year, but sources now indicate that the Bharat NCAP program will actually roll out only by October 2018, when all new models will have to adhere to crash testing norms. Meanwhile, Latin NCAP tested another Made in India car that's exported to the South American region from here. The Chevrolet Spark GT, which is sold as the Beat in India, failed the frontal crash test, scoring 0 for both adult and child safety. The Spark GT that failed the crash test is the most basic variant available in Latin America. The lack of airbags is one of the big reasons for the poor result in the crash test. The car's structure, though, was rated as stable in that frontal crash, but the low score received in child occupant protection is explained by the high readings on the dummies during the crash test and the lack of proper instructions for proper child restraint system installation. The car was not tested for side impact because the frontal test had already yielded a 0-star rating. Considering it's made in India, we reached out to GM India for a specific comment on this test, but received none. So that's a pretty significant story, and as always, that's a topic I would like all of you to react to and tell us what you think about it. The good part that India will have its safety regulations in place very soon, including our own crash testing norms, and that Bharat NCAP being adopted across the industry very soon. So fingers crossed that that transition happens very quickly and smoothly, and of course results in a much safer environment for all of us who are on the road. With that, we'll wrap things up, but I know there's this one piece of information about this gorgeous car that you're dying to know, and I can tell you, looking at its rear here, such an edgy, fantastic design. I think the rear of most Lamborghinis is the part I really like in terms of styling, but I'm beating about the bush. The point? The price tag. That's the one thing you definitely want to know. And well, pocket change for some people, 3.71 crore rupees is what will set you back if you were to go ahead and book one of these beauties for yourself. So with that wonderful, thunderous little note, I'm going to say goodbye. Please wear your seatbelts, please wear your helmets, and join us on the program next week.